Welcome to episode 26, the post-Super Bowl finale episode of the Quick Snap podcast, here with DA and producer Danny, who had a great week for himself. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The pictures we were getting.
Go ahead, Hoy, and then
What do you got, DA?
DA, you start.
Hoy, you're a retired athlete, right? You made
Well, hold on, I'm not retired.
Okay,
I have filed no papers. First of all,
took a year off this year. You made a lot of money in your career. What were you doing last week?
Dude, I had kids. I had to deal with sports, drama, dogs.
Yeah, right.
Snow.
And I'm still trying to play, right? Going through the grind. It's technically the off season. Haven't done anything. Just been here grinding. And I get phone calls from Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, Rusty Manziel, who's, these guys, they're all down in the Bahamas with Danny kicking around, and
living it in the
sauna.
Those
guys don't work because I know they got the college schedule's brutal. So my hat's off to them. They deserve it. Danny, I don't know if Danny deserves it.
I will say I don't deserve it.
And then Hoy.
I will say I don't deserve it.
And then Hoy.
Well, he's texting us, oh, hey, DA, I'm with your boy Kirby. I'm like, do some work and get him to be a guest on the podcast.
Hoy, what day does the work week start for most Americans?
Monday.
Super Bowl, the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday.
I agree with that.
No, I agree.
I
agree. But guess what?
I'm not going to travel on a Sunday during the Super Bowl because I need to watch it.
You could have easily traveled. It's not, the Super Bowl doesn't start till 6:30.
I can't risk like a flight delay and then I miss kickoff and I miss the first quarter.
Like nowhere wouldn't have the game on. Like billions of people around the world watching it.
All right,
American Airlines TV.
But
the Kirby Smart
other
thing,
than that. The two NFL athletes are out here dadding, putting in the work, and producer Danny's just kicking rocks in the Bahamas with the head coach.
Sending us videos of doing gender reveal on the beach where he's, first of all, cadence. We need to work on cadence. I can't believe we got it through 26 episodes.
We're not even going into that.
Okay.
I can't even deal with it. It's so inept.
Done with me again, and good for DA because this is the last episode of the Quick
I'm
Snap,
not done with you. I'm done with trying to like rationalize like you understand really the details of football.
Yeah.
I've never said that I'm a football genius.
No, but you act like it when you're sending snap counts trying to point mics.
Yeah.
Do you even know why we point mics?
Yeah, you got to center the defense.
Yeah, okay.
Center the defense. There we
That's
go.
a great line.
Oh, my God.
That's a great one.
Just center in the defense.
Yeah, just center the defense, dog.
Well, good for you. This is the last episode of the Quick Snap season. So, as I was saying, let's go out with a bang. And why don't we get into things, DA, and stop complaining?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Why don't you kick us off? We had a very boring Super Bowl Sunday between the Eagles.
I thought it was glorious.
Yeah, I mean, it was for Patriots fans for sure.
Not even Patriots fans, for NFL fans who have been forced the dynasty of the Chiefs and they're unstoppable, they're unbeatable, all of those things. I think, look, was it a boring game? I guess I get the point. Like, it was lopsided, but what the Eagles did to me was not boring. It was so impressive on both sides of the ball. And it was just one of those things that, like, you want the game. I think even I said it will probably come down to Mahomes either having the lead at the end of the game or with the ball in his hands trying to win the game. And it wasn't, I mean, he was still throwing touchdown passes at the end of the game, but it was after they had already poured the Gatorade. So it was as impressive of a victory as you could have in that game.
I agree. Overall thoughts, I just wasn't a fan this year of the Super Bowl. The game wasn't great. It was a dominant performance. I'm not saying that. What the Eagles did was dominant, and that was really impressive. But overall, for viewer, watching a good game, the two best teams, it did not look like that. And then two, wasn't a fan of the halftime show personally. I know there's a lot of the Kendrick and Drake stuff, but that's so out of my wheelhouse. And the fact they had it in New Orleans and didn't have Lil Wayne, to me, was like crazy.
And he wanted it too.
Crazy.
He wanted it.
That would have been so awesome. Such a cool performance. Lil Wayne was like huge when I was coming up. So like we all had the LimeWire burn mixtapes of Lil Wayne,
I love Lil Wayne.
So that was my take on that. And then wasn't a big fan.
And Lil Wayne's a huge football fan.
Yeah, he's a huge football fan.
He loves like the Packers.
Huge football fan. And then I wasn't a fan of a lot of the commercials. So
yeah, they're wearing a lot of great ones. We're gonna have a little segment on that and say which one you like the best.
Yeah, and then
Shadowline did one, but we'll talk about that in the other one.
I thought the best part of Super Bowl Sunday was the Sunday conversation, the Tom Brady. I think I sent it to
Oh, that
y'all.
was
Just
great. That
some of
was
the
great.
things he brought up, and I'm like, I don't watch every one of them. They're kind of like, I don't know, but like the one where he did the Super Bowl Hail Mary, and Tom's like, well, a smart
Yeah, he's like, what
quarterback
should he do?
should throw it short and move it up, and I was
That was
dying
genius.
laughing at that. But
Yeah.
Caleb's talented.
yeah, no, the
I don't
game.
know how he keeps a straight
I don't
face.
either. The game overall, what I thought is kind of what I said last week. I thought both teams tried to play what I said they were going to try to do last week. Like Mahomes and tried to, you know, didn't run the ball much, tried to play that game where it's short, quick passes. That's how they want to control the game. In my mind, I don't know what their game plan was, but, I talked about Philly wants to control the game with the run game. And then Kansas City wants to throw those quick, short passes, get the ball out of their hands, and that kind of simulates their run game. And, but that's hard to do when you're down. They got down in a big deficit. As an offensive lineman, Hoy, what's one way you can control a rush?
The
The
run
run
game.
game. And, when you're not able to do that, it is, um, it's hard. It's hard as an offensive lineman. And, this isn't me. Some of the stuff with Joe Tooney, like, what are you going to say about Joe? Like what he did for that football team this year and to go out there and compete his ass off at left tackle, and I just watched the game like, man, we can't get any help on the edge, whether it be a chip or something, try to slow some.
Slam.
Yeah, there's ways you can manipulate game plans to try to slow down. Now saying, we've had those games where we've tried to do that and it still doesn't work. And then obviously when you get down in a deficit, you know, the two picks, what Zach Baum was on like the 12-yard line or something. And then obviously the pick six, like it's just, that's not a winning recipe of football. They were able to overcome a lot of bad football this year at times. But at the biggest moment, they weren't able to. Um, and then I kind of thought on their defense, Spags, a great defensive coordinator. He did it all he could, and he did control Saquon for the most part.
He did.
But
Yep.
obviously, when you do that, we've talked about with that team, that leaves you open with the two receivers. And it's not like
Hmm.
those are two slaps running routes out there. Those are two of the best in the league and very different and different style receivers, but can really hurt you. And they sure did. And, hats off to the Eagles, man. It's so hard to win in this league. And, I just, it was a, really impressive, dominant performance. I mean, when they just basically were lining up, just playing defense, it was no exotic stuff. Four down, we're better than you, and we're going to beat you, and they sure did. So, hats off to their coaching staff, the whole organization, the players. Obviously, nothing's done without those players, and they did a hell of a job. And look, and I think the one thing I think about Kansas City is a recipe to beat them is try to be the more physical team. I mean, we did that in 18. That was what we wanted to do is be the more physical team. And I think maybe, we talked about it like that was a little disappointing for us watching that Buffalo game because they, have James Cook. They have a pretty good offensive line. They were a physical team for most of the year and it just kind of seemed like at times they weren't relying on that. And, I think it keeps the ball out of Mahomes' hands, puts the pressure on him. It's look, at the end of the day, the running game, man, as much as we want to talk about it not being glorious and all that, like there's something to it, and there's something to offense and defensive lines. I mean, it's hard to win without those two position groups.
No, you can't. I mean, look, although Saquon didn't have the game that maybe you may have expected from him because of the season he had, he basically the Chiefs came in and said we're not going to let him beat us, and that's he didn't
And I
he didn't
respect
have
that.
any
That's
long
that's
run.
a good
Yeah, a ton of
philosophy. You
respect,
try to do
and
that.
that's where his effect on the game really happened. And as you said, David, that the Eagles with the ability to get up early, they get the first touchdown right. You get it down. Jahan Dotson. I'm sure people who maybe thought they put a money on Jahan Dotson to be the
Oh
first scorer
gosh,
were going crazy. Tush push. So they get that, and then it gets like you just mentioned the pick six, and now it's 14-0. You're like, oh boy, this is not. This is where the Eagles exactly.
yeah,
That's
that's what we
exactly where they
said. You
want to
don't want to
be.
play from
Yeah.
behind.
No, and they were able to do it. But like really, even Jalen Hurts, he not much from the run game. He had a few scrambles, not designed runs. He had a few scrambles to get some big third down conversions. But I think ultimately when I watched this, I realized like the best team this year was the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I say team, I mean all the way around. Offensive line, defensive line, their secondary. I mean, their GM, Howie Roseman, what he did to build that team, Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, Jalen Carter. I mean, what they've done to build this team is just incredible. And one guy that I was really happy for was Vic Fangio. I was with Vic in Chicago. This guy's been in the league for like 40 some years. This is his first Super Bowl win. And funny story about him, when I was in Chicago, I was there and I ended up taking over the starting quarterback. He always called me Bobby, and I never really thought too much of it. He'd be like, "Hey Bobby." I'm like, "Hey Vic." And by the third game I started, he called me Bobby. I said, "Vic, you know my name is Brian, right? Like I've been the starting quarterback for the team for like 4 weeks now." And he's like, "Oh, I thought you were Bobby Hoying." And he was dead serious. Bobby Hoying was a quarterback from
I was gonna
Ohio
say, is
State
that a
like
real
10 years
person?
before me. It
Okay.
was. And so now whenever I see him, I always say it's Brian Hoyer, not Bobby Hoying. So I texted him and said, "Congrats, like your defense was lights out, and when you can get that pass rush without having to bring an extra blitzer, which has kind of been when the Chiefs have lost those
Yeah.
games, that has kind of
And you look
been
at
the
like the
playbook
Tampa
to
game,
Tampa game, the Bengals game when they lost in
yeah,
the AFC
Hendrickson, I think
Championship.
had a great game that game.
Yep. And so that's the formula because you have an extra guy in coverage and it's harder to get those quick balls out. And I think that's the formula. And so I think like you said, Danny, we can kind of put to rest the talk for right now because I'll say this. The one thing that never happened to the Patriots in all those years or Tom Brady, they never got their asses whooped like this in the biggest game. And when it was looking that way, when they were down 28-3, like we talked about last week, it was the greatest comeback in history. David, you were there for it. So I think that's the talk is for the fans and the pundits and all of that stuff. But to me, I was really shocked that a team that was on the verge of a three-peat could even allow it to be this such of a lopsided
Well,
loss.
that's kind of my point last week. Like, there's no point in debating this thing until it's over.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
once it's over, like, yeah, let's sit down and talk about it. Like, who knows? Mahomes, what year is this? 7 or 8 for him?
I think it's 7.
7?
This was his eighth year, right? Seven AFC championships in 8 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's right.
started for 7 years.
So
He
started
was on the
for
bench.
sorry.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, he could easily play another 10 years. So, like, who knows what that looks like? And
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a 10-year drought like the Patriots went through from '04 to,
Yeah.
getting there, but not winning from '04 to, 14, or, he could be back 4 times, 5 times. Like, there's just no point in arguing this until it's done, in my mind. And then you sit down and you look at the collective. Is he one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league? Yes, there's no doubt. And what you said about the Philly team, I thought they were definitely the most talented team. There was no argument in that in my mind, and one of the most talented teams all year. But, I didn't know if they were the best team. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, there's a lot that goes into it. I don't know if I've ever played on a team where we were the most talented team, but we were the best team a lot of those years. And there's something more than just having talented guys and things like that. Like, to win, it takes a special group of guys, and not only the players, the coaching staff, and look, it's really impressive what they've done. It's their fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years.
Yeah. And they just
That's what I'm saying. They're
Kellen
losing
Moore
Kellen
was
Moore,
named.
so
Yeah, they're
like,
losing him.
I mean,
So
it's very impressive, to have to, and they've been able to keep a lot of key pieces, and they drafted Jurgens at center, and he developed a few
mm-hmm.
years behind Kelsey. I think he played a little guard early in his career, and and just added Mekhi Becton, kind of revived his
Yeah.
career.
I didn't know the Mailata stuff about being a rugby player, but when they were showing the clips, I don't know if it was leading up to the game, showing him play rugby at
Yeah, it's
6'8",
scary.
like three. I was like, oh my
Uh,
God. He was looking for
no, I mean,
Did you
contact.
it's
see the
just,
stat before the game? The Eagles' offensive line is the heaviest and tallest in Super Bowl
yeah.
history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's really impressive. They've done a great job, like you said, Howie and, that whole staff, whoever it is working with them, like, they've done a great job building that team through the draft and acquiring, free agents like Zach Braun. Like,
Zach Bond,
he,
yeah.
like, just kind of a guy, and then now he's an all
He
pro.
became all pro.
Like, they drafted, half of the University of Georgia,
Shout out Kirby.
Shout out Kirby, just the
Kirby.
dogs. I mean, so
I
they've
do.
done a great
I
job.
do want to. I do want to give Jalen Hurts the credit that
I
he
think so
deserves,
too. I
and
don't know why people hate
not
on him.
just in this game, but I was telling Garrett about his story. Right, like this dude was a starter at Alabama, gets benched in the national championship.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes, and at
for
halftime.
Tua
Yeah.
at halftime, and remains a teammate. Now, look, I've been benched before, and to sit there and do the right thing and be the teammate and stuff, like you do it because you know the cameras are on you, but it's not always. This seemed like a very genuine thing. Like you saw his reaction. He goes to Oklahoma. I think he was the runner-up in the
Hey,
Heisman
did
once
you
he
see his
moved there.
press conference after he got benched and then they won
Yes,
that national championship? It was
yeah,
amazing. He just
it was
talked.
amazing.
Yeah, he's the greatest teammate.
And then he goes to Oklahoma and he's drafted after Tua, after Herbert, after Jordan Love. I think there was another one in there. And here he is. And there was that cool moment I think Albert Breer caught in the locker room where he kind of took his cigar and he took the Lombardi and he just sat in the hallway by himself. And I shared that with Garrett, my son. I said, this is a guy who was benched, had to transfer, didn't get drafted in the first round, and has worked his way to where he is. And when this team needed him the most, because even though the attention was on the run game, he still hit some huge
Yeah, no.
passes. I mean, the Jahan Dotson one,
He
the
should have had that first one to
touchdown.
AJ Brown. I don't know how that was a
That's right.
penalty.
That was a brutal call.
Devontae Smith ball was
The
great.
Devonta Smith ball was beautiful. He had some other big time throws, some big runs, and so look, I think everyone wants to talk about quarterback in a certain way, and the way that I learned quarterback is different than what it is now from back then, and I think that position more than ever you can win in a lot of different
Yeah, and
ways,
like
and that's
the
been
whole
proven.
like system quarterback thing, what
Yeah,
like he does what's best for the team. Isn't that what you want with your quarterback? You want your
100%. Yes.
quarterback to be like, hey, we've got a hoss and a great O line at
Yeah.
tailback. Sure, if I have to throw it 15 times and he runs for 250, like, and I sneak it in, twice
Yep.
from the 1 yard line, like, sure, I'll do it if it helps our
Yeah.
team. Like, isn't that what you want? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I would rather have that kind of guy. And there was points in Tom's career he was like that. Like, whatever it takes to
Yeah.
win. I don't care. Like, if we got to run it, we'll
Yeah.
run it. If I have to throw it, I'll throw it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, the whole system quarterback thing, like, to me, like, they use it as a knock against guys. And I'm like,
But those guys don't even know what the system
yeah, I
is.
don't, I
That's
don't know
like,
what
oh,
their
we need a
system
West
is.
Coast system. No one even knows what that means. They just say it because they know it'll be a good
I couldn't
soundbite.
tell you
And
one play called they ran in that game, and I played a lot of football. Like so, like it's just like, man,
yeah.
like I don't know what if that's a system quarterback. That's a pretty damn good one.
Yeah, so I think he deserves his due, and I think more so than just being the MVP in this game, just his entire career and his story and the person that he is and the character that he's shown. I mean, I was like, I said to my son, this is a guy you should look up to. All right, so for me, I'm gonna go. Look, we like you said, Hertz was hero of the game. I'm gonna go with the unsung hero, Cooper DeJean, who. I mean, could there have been a more important play in that game to turn the tides?
Or a
Because,
better
like we just
birthday
said,
present.
or a
Was it
better
his
birthday
actual
present.
birthday?
Him and Saquon. It was him and
Yeah,
Saquon's
he
birthday.
turned
I think.
Actual day.
22.
22. Lauren, my wife, was like, "Oh my god, look at he's like a little. He looks like our son." I mean, he did. He's really baby faced, but it was to me the timing of that play, and you, David, you've been on a field when when a pick six is thrown. I've thrown them. There's
It's
not really
devastating.
other than a blocked punt. It's one of the most deflating moments you could have, and so for a rookie white corner to make that play in the Super Bowl at that time to put them up, whatever the score was at that point, I'm going to go with him. At some point, I thought maybe he would be. I didn't know how the game would play out, but it was such a turning point, pivotal play that I got to go with Cooper DeJean.
He's a 4-down player.
Just
Yeah,
a good old
and I want to
Iowa
just say
Hawkeye.
this. Yeah, Iowa Hawkeye. I want to say this because I'm dealing with it now as a parent. People want to. David, you'll be there soon. Oh, you got to specialize in this. I got to do football year round. This dude was a four varsity athlete, four sport varsity athlete. He played football, obviously. He was great at basketball, and then in the spring he ran track and played baseball. And I read the article this week that he said he thought his best sport was baseball. So there's no need to specialize anything. The kid's 22 years old. He didn't specialize in one sport until he got to college just 4 years ago. So if you're a great athlete, they'll find you and you'll be good at whatever you
Yeah,
do.
I mean, do you know who Jeff Francoeur is?
Yeah.
He's got a podcast that like talks about parenting and sports, and
Hmm.
it's I've never listened to a full episode. I like follow their page and look at the clips, but it's he talks about that a lot, just like,
Yeah.
and that was always my dad's rule, like with baseball was like, dude, you're not playing travel baseball, like even younger than Garrett's age. Like he's like, you're not doing
Yeah.
that. Like you're 8 years old. Like go be a kid in the summer. You don't need to play
Hmm.
70 something baseball games. Like it's ridiculous.
Well, Georgia too.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, and
East Cobb Astros. I
yeah,
played
East
them one
Cobb,
time
man.
in a
Everybody
baseball
played East
tournament.
Cobb except for me.
Yep.
Uh, it was like, look, I played football, and that was my passion. And then, I played lacrosse, I played basketball a little bit, I wrestled. And then in high school, I kind of was like, all right, like my best shot and my best sports football. And I knew I had to put on weight. And so that's where I was like,
3-star recruit.
yeah, that's where I was like, all right, I'm going to work.
Great photo you sent us too.
I'm gonna work out and do football. I didn't do like specific football training. I just worked
Yeah.
out and ran and
Yeah.
tried to get as strong and fast and big as I could, and it wasn't like I was like every day had a football O-line coach. Like I would train if I had a recruiting camp with Rusty that you met, Danny, like I would do like, I'd work with my high school O-line coach for a couple days that week before the recruiting camp just to like get back into pass pro stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Like all that stuff, I agree with you, Hoy, man. Like it's just like, and I think if your kid's passionate about something, yeah, you want to dive into it with them, and
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, is it your dream or is it their dream, And so
Right.
I think as a parent, but my uh my hero of the week, man, I'll just say the Eagles organization as a whole, Howie, the coaching staff, thought it was a great game plan. They had the team ready to go. Um, the way they built that team, we kind of touched on it. It's pretty impressive, with adding certain free agents, different things like that. And it just shows, how you can, build a team and draft well, get the free agents, and you can turn a lot around. So, not taking away from anything that the players did. I mean, they were freaking dominant all night. So, but just changing it up a little bit, I'll go the whole organization because it takes everyone.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Brady Mahomes thing just for a moment, but like it was cool as a Patriots fan to listen to Tom on the broadcast the whole
Yeah,
night.
I was gonna say we should talk on that because I thought. Now look, I didn't watch many, like I watched them here and there because I'd be trying to watch a lot of games at once. So I would hear Tom from time to time, but then I'd switch to another game where I'd be on Scott Hansen on as we talked about.
Red
David,
zone.
you had an appreciation for him on Red Zone, but sitting down and watching a whole game, and I thought Tom, that was a tremendous ability to call the game, but also interject some personal stories that he had lived through. Even got a Lonnie Paxton
Lonnie.
Yeah.
shout out
Great long
because
snapper
I
Lonnie.
think they kept trying to get the Chiefs to jump off sides with the little finger squeeze.
Well,
or
they
whatever,
called it
and
once on the Eagles, didn't they? Early in the
yeah, they
game.
did. They called it twice.
Twice.
And the second one, that's when Tom gave the Lonnie Paxton reference. So a good job with that. And he even made a little comment at Kevin Hart. He's like, "Man, how could the cameras even find
Yeah, I
Kevin
saw
Hart?"
That
that.
was good.
Very
Loosening it
quick
up a
witted.
little bit.
So yeah,
No,
no,
he
it's
was
like
good.
anything. You do it enough, he's going to be good at it.
But you could tell he was like smiling a little bit just watching Mahomes just get annihilated out there. Like you could tell in his voice a little
Yeah,
bit.
but he also there was a few plays where I was like, "Come on, Tom, just tell it how it is." There was one throw that Mahomes threw like a shitty pass like at Kelsey's ankles.
That early in the
And
game on
Tom,
third down.
yeah, and Tom was like, "Yeah, they're just." I'm like, "Just say it's a bad throw. Just call it like it is."
I mean, a 40 to the 2 touchdowns at the end were garbage time. Whatever they were up 30.
It was a
It's
ridiculous
like,
throw. The 65-yard touchdown pass. I just saw someone say like this will be the greatest non-meaningful touchdown pass in Super Bowl history. He threw it 65 yards in the air.
yeah, I know. But what I was going to say is just it's hard to keep a game interesting, and I think Tom did a decent job at that throughout the whole game.
I did think like they didn't really touch on like when it was down at halftime. Like why didn't they be like, "Hey Tom, like They should have, like, the way we asked Hogan and the way we asked David last week, like, what's going to happen here at halftime? Like, what are they going to go in and say to try to? They didn't really hit on that. And I know, like, you got to get everything in a short time because you got the halftime show, all of that stuff. But I thought that was something that they could have hit on a little bit more.
Yeah, the producers probably like try not to make this a Patriots show, but but no, it was a boring game. But so, do we want to talk about commercials at all? I know you had some thoughts there, Hoy.
I had a few that I liked. Usually I feel like there was better, but I would say my top three, and David, you may not like this one because I don't even know. You're probably too young, but I thought the Seal
I mean,
Doritos
it was
one,
kind of funny.
it was funny to
The
me
fact
because
that he was a seal was kind of funny.
and that song was big for me as a kid because it was from
Oh,
the Batman movie.
baby, like a kiss
Yeah,
from a
kiss from a
rose.
rose.
Pretty good,
Great.
DA.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I like that one. I also, because my wife and daughter like horses, I like the Budweiser
Yeah,
with the
those are
Clydesdale.
always
Classic.
classic. Can't miss.
The young foal who wanted to be a part of it, and he pushed the keg by himself. And then how could we be remiss if we don't mention the Dunk Kings, which Tom was in last year, but now they replaced him with Bill, and even an appearance from his girlfriend.
Yeah, that was quite the show.
Honestly,
Quite the show.
honestly, that was my favorite commercial. I thought it was funny.
I love like
It
anything
was
with
good.
Boston
And-
accents. I
and
love
I
it.
love Dunkin'. I'm not the biggest Starbucks guy, and like
Dunkin'.
them just kind of making fun of Starbucks. I was, it was a good roast by Dunkin' to Starbucks, and like I said, I'm a Dunkin' guy through and through. Now being up here, so yeah, I don't know. It's that was probably my favorite. The Seal was all right.
I'm gonna give Shadow Lion, our company, or a little shout out here, but we did the Duracell shoot
Duracell.
for Tom and Kevin Burkhardt. At
You know, I thought I maybe a lot of people didn't notice this, but I thought it was impressive that the Kevin and Tom were in the same ensembles
yeah.
that they were wearing at the game. Like they had to plan that out.
You know
Yeah,
what
for
commercial kind of like tripped me out a little bit? The breast
Oh,
cancer.
I know which one.
The breast cancer one.
Oh
Where they were
yeah,
just
yeah.
like-
Because I'm watching it with my kids, and my wife's like, "Hey, Garrett, check this commercial out," and he's getting like red.
That's like
cheeks.
as
I'm
close as
"What's
he's
this
going to
about?"
get to Whitney, or not Whitney Houston. Who was it? Janet Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember.
Hey Hoyer, did you notice your boys at Circle had a Super Bowl?
I did. Circle.
Yeah.
Shout out to Circle. Hey, shared the same building
Boston
as Shadow
Company.
Lion.
Yep. And
Boston Company. I love that stuff, especially out golfing. You know, you got your water bottle, but you have the top you can put in with the flavors.
Like Gatorade
Definitely
kinda.
big fan of it. And yeah, I saw them on there too, which is, it's always fun. I mean, to me, honestly, when I'm watching the Super Bowl, and obviously this is my first year not playing, but as you're watching the game, I'm just excited for the commercials, and I'm a big Marvel movie guy too. So usually they're always dropping a trailer. So they drop the Thunderbolts trailer, which will come out right around Garrett's birthday. So we always go. There's usually a Marvel movie right in May. So I was excited to see that too.
Love it. Well, that's a wrap on Super Bowl 59, unless there's so many other thoughts there. But that's a wrap. I mean, football as a whole for the season, I think it was a great season. I think there was a lot of teams that surprised you. You know, the Vikings in there, a lot of normal characters, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens at the top of the AFC. But I thought it was a great football season.
Yeah, I think it was a good year. It's going to be, be interesting off season. With the Chiefs, like they're going to have to rebuild some pieces. What happens with Kelsey? I think Trey Smith, is he a free agent? Their right guard. They obviously have to address the offensive line a little bit, get Joe back to where he should be playing. So, looking at them, that'll be interesting.
Have you talked to Joe since the loss?
No, I'll talk to
What's
him
the rule
eventually.
on that? What's
I mean,
the
I
rule
don't know if there's a
typically?
set rule, but like, give him a
Just got to feel it
just
out.
Like 72 hours?
yeah. I mean, we'll give him some time here. I mean, look, he doesn't need to hear from me. He knows I care about him and thinking about him. Like you don't. It's just something else he's gonna have to do is either not reply or reply. So I'll let him get settled a little bit and reach out to him. But I mean, there's gonna be a lot of teams and a lot of interesting stuff. You've already seen Debo wants to trade. Cooper Cup he's not released.
Miles Garrett.
Right? Cooper's
No, it's just
No,
a trade
trade.
request.
Miles
Not request,
Garrett
but
a
like
trade.
yeah.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf trade. Or talking about it so.
T.
The
Higgins.
who Aaron Rodgers got released.
He got released.
They told him he's not welcome back.
Yeah, so I mean,
Okay.
he's not.
I did see something that said like if he wanted to come back, he was no longer allowed
On
to
the
do the
Pat
McAfee
McAfee show.
So I'm sure that didn't go over what
He can
great.
come do the quick snap if he wants. I mean,
Yeah.
So I mean, look, it'll be interesting. They won't, when will they start releasing guys?
It's all weird about like,
Contract
especially the
stuff,
bigger
right?
guys. Like, yeah, like if you do it later,
Yeah.
then
So I mean, we'll
you're less
see.
against the cap. And
We'll see what.
yeah, I think we'll try to get, if this will be our last episode. We'll take a break after this, but I think the goal would be to maybe get another episode, a quick one, and just as rumors start to flow, the combine happens, you get to have an idea of what teams are going to do. Because usually, for people who don't know, everybody goes to the combine, like the coaches, the scouts, everybody from, and then the agents, they all go there. And this is where the back channeling at the hotel happens. Hey, I got so and so's a free agent. I'm in the market for this. So a lot of the stuff starts to come to fruition there. And so I think the goal for us is to take some time off, and then maybe we get a little free agency preview, because obviously Patriots got a lot of money to spend, a lot of holes that are going to try to be filled, I'm sure, through free agency. Because that's the thing, if you can fill a lot of those holes in free agency, that really frees up your draft plans and what you're able to do there. So maybe we get to that. But you're right, there's a lot of intriguing lines, because there's some big name guys out there either requesting trades, have been told they're going to be traded. I think that's the Cooper Cup thing. Now there's a big rumor that Stafford may be on his way out, and him and Cooper Cup both going to the New York Giants. That's the one I read today. I guess the Giants hired Stafford's brother-in-law. Which, do you know this guy, Chad Hall?
Yeah, Chad. Yeah, Chad went to my high school. Great athlete.
Yeah,
Went
so they
to
hired him as the
he went
quarterback coach,
to
and
Air Force Academy and was like in the Heisman race when he was there.
yeah, I
He
recognize the
was in
name. I'm trying
Buffalo
to
for
figure
a
out how.
while, probably when you
Okay.
were playing with us there, and then he
Yep.
was in Jacksonville last year.
Yeah, so that's one to keep an eye on, because obviously if you're the Rams, you got to say, all right, Matt Stafford's done a great job for us, but like he's getting older. What's our plans if they're moving on Cup? What does that mean to him? So that'll be one to keep an eye on. So I think we get an episode maybe a week or two before free agency and just give our thoughts, and then some big news. I think we're going to do a live episode at the Patriots draft party. I think it's not the night of the draft; it's the weekend before. We
March
uh,
23rd.
yeah, the 23rd, and I think that'll be fun. I think the McCourtys are hosting. I'm gonna have some other people. There's a potential producer Danny tryout
Watch out.
live,
Watch
which you
out,
still haven't
DA.
started training for, which we still haven't seen any footage from the
Cameras
snow.
maybe have been affected. I don't know if that footage will be released ever.
Well, I did Billy O's podcast over at BC, so I think if we want to do another test run, we can maybe go over to their
How many
indoor, their
test runs
bubble.
you
Maybe
gonna
he could
get?
coach you up. I know that's the thing.
one that's not on a skating rink in 40
You
mile an
guys
hour winds.
agreed to it. I told you guys what the problem
Have you
was.
talked to Hogan about training yet?
No.
I mean,
I
where
will
are
get
we
down
at
to
with
Long
this?
Island with Chris Hogan. I will
No, you
train.
won't.
I will
the footage
You'll
accept
for
be in the
that?
I will
Bahamas or
accept
some
Billy
shit
O's
again.
coaching as well and go to the
Oh,
indoor
Billy O
facility.
would destroy you. You would cry.
I
He
would
loves
love
you,
it.
David. I
I
was on
love
his
Billy O.
podcast and we talking about you. He's like, man, I love David Andrews. I said I knew you would. You're a David Andrews,
I
Billy
love
O.
Billy
That's like
O.
a match made in
Yeah, he
heaven.
was
But Jorge,
great.
that's what I was gonna say though, is like, yeah, we're gonna take some break here, but I think what the NFL does so beautifully is like they
Yeah.
keep fans
They
intrigued
space it
Dude,
out
all
there's
perfectly.
season
name
long.
1 month that the NFL's not talked about.
I know. March is
January's
free agency,
yeah, okay, let's go. February Super Bowl.
Super Bowl,
March free agency.
Combine
Yeah,
too. Yep.
combine.
and Combine
March free agency. April you got the draft
draft.
slash OTA
OTAs, mini
starting.
camps.
May you got OTA starting. Who's there? Who's not? Rookies come
Yep.
in. June mini camp. Who's not there? Who's there?
It's really July is the only
Dude,
month,
what
and then
starts in
training camp
July?
starts at the end. Yeah, I know.
Training camp starts in July.
Yeah,
Like it's
they
Then
got
you
it.
start getting the clips on your social media of like, oh, the one-handed catch from this dude or this guy looks good. And
it's
that's fun to look
nonstop.
at.
It's a great business plan by the NFL because there
Oh,
is
it's
not
the greatest.
1 month. The draft is such a huge event now. Like it's just there's not 1 month.
Can we just talk too about the NFL announced a game in Australia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
That's why. I mean, look, Europe is one thing. Australia, what is that, like 17-hour
Yeah,
flight?
Europe's just like going to the West Coast kind of
Yeah, how early are these guys going to have to go out to acclimate
a
to
week.
that? That's rough.
I don't know. It's going to be wild. I mean, but you know, look, it's all grow the game.
Ireland just got announced, right? Ireland,
Yeah, Ireland.
Spain, Germany, London.
It's all to grow the game, and as
Money.
a player, it's all
Oh
about
yeah,
money.
I like those games.
and it's about if we increase revenue, then that means more share for us in the revenue
Yeah.
share. So
No, I look, the European games. David, did you play in London at all?
no, because I missed this year, obviously.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So, but you had
I've
Germany
only
and you
I
missed
missed
Mexico
Mexico
City.
within.
Yeah, we were hoping you were just going to be alive when we came back.
Yeah, Bill. I think David's going to play. I'm gonna never forget Devin goes. Yeah, he said in the captain's meeting Friday morning and said you were going to play, and then they brought you home from the hospital at the hotel, and I looked at you and thought you were dead. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I thought I
Yeah.
was too, bro. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, I like those. I think, like you said, growing the game um, is tremendous, and you've seen the response from the fans in those atmospheres and those markets has been tremendous. So it'll be fun. I think the Steelers are going to be in the Ireland game because the Roonies.
Saw
There's a good
that.
connection there, which will be great. Um, I think they're going to play in Berlin next year and in Madrid, which would be awesome. So
I feel like
I
Spain
think
would
it's
be a
great, but
cool place.
Australia seems far.
It's very far.
I heard the Brazil game was crazy. Like both teams are staying like 2 hours away from the stadium. Could you
Oh,
imagine doing a 2 hour
jeez.
bus ride to the game?
The field
To the
also looked like
game,
shit there too.
yeah. Well, those soccer fields. I know they're grass, but they're different.
Soccer
They're
cleats
not
are
used
made
to
different
having
than, and plus,
right, and they're not used to having
I was
three
about to
hundred
say,
pound
think about
men.
like most soccer guys like look like Danny, but in better shape. So like that planning versus like me or somebody or Jordan Malata.
Gonna be blown
Yeah,
away in a couple months, DA.
No, I'm
You're gonna
not.
be blown away.
dude,
I
you
might be
keep
your
talking.
teammate.
You've already lost a week and a
I
half.
might be your teammate come July.
Yeah, on this podcast.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask you guys, like, this is your first year podcasting. You were rookies, I thought you did a pretty good job. I like from the day one of walking into that room when we were doing it in person down in July, I wasn't nervous, but I didn't know how you guys would be. I didn't know how you guys would be as a duo. I didn't know how you'd be on camera, a little shy, a little hesitant. And like we recorded that test episode, and I was like, there's no way that's a test episode. We have to publish it. I thought you guys were a great duo. So props to you, even though you love to hate on me. I'll give you your flowers. But how did you like podcasting in
Danny,
season
if we
one?
didn't hate on you, then we didn't
Yeah,
like
that's
you.
the thing.
No, I try. I like
My
it.
wife
Don't
would be
worry.
like, "Oh, you're mean to him." I'm like, "Yeah, because not you.
That's what my wife
Not
says
you,
too.
because she doesn't know that I'm mean to you." But like, we
I
had a
want to get
rookie
dinner
one
with the
time,
girls, maybe. I don't
and
want to get dinner with
my
you
wife was
guys.
like, "Oh, you're mean to him." I'm like, "Yeah, because I like him." Like,
That's
Yeah,
right.
no, I
know,
get it. Trust me. But did you like
I liked
podcasting?
it. To me, honestly, what's so great about it, having now David doesn't have the experience of doing other media, so to say. This one is you can be a little more free. I'm doing with a guy that I love in David. Danny, you're getting there.
no,
Um, but it's look, it started off. David was still playing, so it was kind of this unique. And then we went on David's journey of getting injured and what he was going to do and rehab, and so obviously we're pulling for him to get back. I think the Patriots need him and his leadership, and but I'm glad that I'm teammates with him once again, and we always had a lot of fun. We had technical difficulties. I do think I'd love to get back in person because um, that was a lot of fun, as you said, Danny. Like getting there and
Mm-hmm.
doing those things in person, you feed off each other, and I know the one difficulty is like when you're doing this, it's like you don't want to talk over each other, but there's a little bit of lapse and you can't read body language. But it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to this off season and maybe a few special episodes, and then season two.
yeah, I think one. I'll start off with if we could get a producer to work during the week, that'd be nice.
We didn't miss a single episode in 26 episodes.
No, I'll
We
say
banged
this.
them out.
We made
I'll
it
say
work.
this, and then two, I've never had a football injury that caused me to miss the whole year, and then I started this podcast, and that happened. So I don't know. I'm just looking at the stars here, but I don't know. That's probably Danny's fault. I got weak around him. But no, it was fun. It was cool talking with you, Hoy, like just talking football, and obviously we both came up in the league the same way under the same system, so we see the game the same way, which is interesting, and I think a lot of people have seen it different ways, and that's fine, and they have those opinions, and some are right, some are wrong, but I think it was interesting to me because you've been on the other side of it now, kind of being out of the game. I'm still in the game, and also I will say this: our kids were at different stages of life with kids where your mornings are a little bit more free. Your afternoons are
Hmm.
slammed because you've got like the after school
Yeah, after
activities,
school.
and then my mornings are slammed and my afternoons are more like, all right, now it's trying to be a dad. Like kids are home. There's not that many activities. So that's
So we're
kind of
recording at 9 p.m. right now.
so that's
Yeah, we made it
so that's
work.
kind of funny, like seeing that dynamic of life, because I think there comes a point, and you're kind of at that point right now where you're like a glorified Uber driver, just like pick up from school, take
100%.
to this activity, pick up from this activity, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm obviously not there with two young kids, so but yeah, it was fun, man. It was interesting playing, talking on the, it was different, and then it became a lot different when I got hurt because I wasn't as involved, in the week to week stuff, which I think made it more fun for me to an extent, and like it was not all the other pressure of football outside of this, and but yeah, it was interesting, man. We'll see where it goes, and what the future holds for both of us, and obviously Danny, if he becomes a professional athlete, which is not a shot in hell, but we'll let him have his
No
pipe dream.
chance.
Um,
It's a pipe dream.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It might be. I can't say that. But it was fun. It was cool. It was good talking ball, and I hope people, appreciate it. Maybe learn something. And because I think we have like I said, an interesting perspective, right? The most cerebral people on football fields usually are the center, quarterback, and probably like middle linebacker, safety. Yeah, I mean, not always the case. Like I played with a lot of really smart players, but those are kind of your guys that are running the show, and so I think it's an interesting dynamic, and I hope people enjoyed, learning a little bit or hearing our thoughts, even if they thought they were shitty sometimes, and they probably are, but they're our thoughts, and I thought it was good. I think I did like the in person more. Obviously, harder to set up, a little bit easier with our schedules, especially once mine got flipped on its head to just kind of do it down here. Even though I hate computers, I hate them so much.
They
We
hate you
found that
too.
Dude,
out.
I'm
Yeah.
so bad. I don't own one.
They
This
hate
is my
you.
wife's computer. I don't own
Oh, we
one.
Yeah.
know. We know.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know where the
Um,
charger is to this thing. Like it's just I'm not a computer, and I got to figure that out because life after football, even the coaches,
yeah,
man.
you need it.
Dude, even if you wanted to get in
Oh yeah.
coaches, like the way these dudes work computers nowadays is so impressive. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it's a big part of the
they're
job.
great football coaches, but like they're also smart with these computers and how they do things, man. And
Yeah.
I'm just
I
so
think we
bad.
gotta thank the fans too. I know David. I probably had more interaction just being out and about doing some events, and the feedback that I got was great. People love the podcast. They love you, and obviously we had a bunch of mailbag towards the end. I thought those were great segments, and so thanks for tuning in. And as David said, hope you like our thoughts. If not, that's okay too. But like we just talked about, the reason football is so great is it gives us something to talk about all year round. And you and I both love the game, and I think we love to just share the stories and kind of give people a peek behind. Yeah, they what they see on Sundays. We could talk about that, but just kind of what goes into it and the relationships and all of those things. I think I'm glad we have this opportunity to share this
And I
stuff.
will say this about the relationship part of it, man. When you win, you're bonded for life. You know what I mean? Like there's something about it, man. And we've been fortunate to be on a lot of those teams, and it's because you go through the ups and downs, I mean, it's kind of like marriage, like you finish the race, like you accomplished it, you finished it. It wasn't perfect a lot, and no matter what, you had each other's back, and you all put your decide your differences. Whether your wife puts the ketchup in the fridge, you keep it in the pantry, whatever it may be. Like that's how it is with teammates, and at the end of the day, you accomplish something that's so special, and so and like I've said, it's the striving goal in this game. Like it's all I think about is trying to get back to that game, and because it's the most special thing in the world. The build up, spending time with your friends and family, and then I don't know. There's something about the highs of the game, and then the lows of the lows when you lose one, and it just I don't know that wild roller coaster of emotions both ways is so special, and the bond you share with those guys lasts forever. Even if you don't see them a lot. Like obviously we see a lot of each other through this, and we both live here. But just overall, it's just the coaching, the people in the organization. You're bonded for life, man, and it's that's what we're going to try to do.
I'll just say thank you to the fans, everyone listening. Appreciate you guys. Keep sending in your feedback as we get better for season 2. Some offseason. I think the Patriots will be one of the busiest teams this offseason. So like Hoy said, hopefully have a few surprise episodes for you. Thank you guys. Thank you, DA. Thank you, Hoy. You guys crushed it this year.
Thank you, Danny. I know we bust your balls.
Thank you, Danny.
If I'm your GM though, I think you had 1 year contract. That was your contract. I got to review the tape. I'll look at the numbers.
What did
and I'll come
Gronk
back
say?
to you
He would have
guys.
only played on 1 year contracts.
I'll come back to you guys with maybe a season 2 contract.
You were great, Danny. We appreciate it.
Thank you
Glad
for your
we got
hard
to
work.
know you, brother. Appreciate all you do for us, putting up with me. Hoy doesn't. You don't have to really put up with Hoy, but
No, I'm used to
these
it.
two.
I
I don't know
your
what you
guys'
guys.
babysitter.
Don't be blowing up my phone because all you two text like lovers. Like just I look at my phone. It's just like you and Danny just like sending reels.
Get involved in
and
the group chat a little
I mean,
bit.
I am.
Jeez.
Get
but,
active,
like,
brother.
I
it's
like to
just,
send
like,
gifs. I like to send, clips.
I gotta
that
hear
I
Danny
find.
talk about ridiculous things and just send videos, and then you get Hoy going, and it's just like, guys, like it's gonna be okay if you guys don't talk to each other. But I love that.
keep
I
you
love
young.
that,
I keep you young.
dude. You're like 3 years
that
younger than
is
me.
true.
Yeah.
You do try to keep us young, but me and Hoy got to go to bed. It's almost our
Yeah.
bedtime.
Hey guys, are you guys coming out? It's 10:30.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been sleeping for 30
Mine
minutes.
and Hoy's bedtime's in about 5 minutes. Start
Yeah, no more
herding
late
us
night
to
pods.
pasture.
Well,
All right, boys.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
That's a wrap.
y'all, man.
Season 1.
Thank everybody.
Thank you.
All right. See you soon.